mention that the new air filtration unit I got, just after just 3 months of only filtering outside air, the filter's like completely black. So
Really?
Some really horrendous particulate matter.
Wow.
In the sky.
Yeah.
There's no pollution around here, so it can only really be
like sky stuff.
chemtrails.
I would probably agree with you there. I'm glad you got that filter.
Yeah.
Me too. A lot of times the things that make us sick is just what's in our environment. A lot of us don't know it, but we can try to shore up some of our defenses. We have faith to help us, but we also have wisdom that we could use. Sometimes there's simple things. A family member said, give me one good reason why I shouldn't take the... You guys know what I'm talking about. And I said, how about this scripture? My people perish because of lack of knowledge. There's times just things that's in our environment, things that we're putting in our bodies willingly, and some stuff that is unwillingly. In all cases, we can decree and speak life over our bodies. We can renounce some of the foolish decisions we've made, some of the alterations we made unwillingly or unknowingly. There's stuff that's in our food that shouldn't be in. There's stuff that's in our air that shouldn't be there. We can speak life over our own homes, and sometimes God will give us wisdom to shore up our defenses. I can speak life, but I can also know not to make foolish decisions. For example, if my son is playing outside, I can just say, oh, God will protect him. Or I can use wisdom and make sure that he stays in an area where I can see him. It's a healthy balance between testing God and using wisdom. So I'll let him play outside, but not where I can't see him, because I'll just say, oh, God got him. That's testing God after the fact. Where Jesus was brought to the high place in the temple, and Satan said, jump off, because God is going to get you. The angels, the scripture's written that the angels will bear you up lest you dash your feet against a stone. And Jesus said, hey, it's also written, do not put your Lord thy God to the test, which is testing God after the fact or after you jump. So again, it's wisdom to couple wisdom, like physical things you can do to shore up your defenses. If like in his case, hey, something's being done in the air. Maybe I should, if it's within my capacity, put something on my air filter. For some of us, it's food. If we know that there's something that shouldn't be consumed because what's in that food might be dangerous, stay away from that food. If you know that food is going to be more harmful for you. You can always pray and bless over your food, but it's much wiser to couple wisdom with your declarations, your faith, and the power of God. Amen? All right. Let's go to some cryptos today. Oh, go ahead, Jeff. You had a comment?
Jason, I was a little late earlier. Can you flash the XCN map?
Yep. Here's that for you real quick. These are some of my more important next areas for XCN. Okay. You're probably going to want to watch the video explanation because I did a deeper dive on XCN. Okay.
Okay.
All right, but take that one as well. That one's going to be more relevant game plan. Okay.
The next buying price for XCN will be what's the good price?
Probably right now, but we are buying a little bit no man's land because we're far from the health entry anymore. We're far from the target when we were supposed to be looking in. Okay, we had those from the previous maps that we've done, those ones at the bottom, and we're far from those entries. So we got to be real careful about jumping in right now. If you're going to be jumping in right now, this might be a good place, but this candle's not closed yet. We got another hours to go, 9 hours left. If we can close on this block, it might be a sign that we're building on this area, and it might help us get the next ones. Otherwise, you probably want to leave it alone if you didn't already get in. Okay, it could be a little bit dangerous. But I'm looking at 065. Okay. All right, now that we're back from the break, let's take a look at WikiCat. I do have a chart for WikiCat. However, this chart is measured in a BNB. So I use this chart to let me know when I should be entering or exiting. But for the most part, it's only measured in BNB token, not exactly the price. So the price is going to look different. However, when this chart is in health, that means that WikiCat is in a good spot. Okay, now one thing I just added while we were just chatting in between the time that Jeff asked me the question, or just right before he asked me a question, is I did add the sword cut from this previous break a long time ago. Now we've had a parabolic curve here, and our whole method is founded off of, or named after one primary tool, and that is the sword cut. And this is the area of break. the area where we cross over, that general range, is where we're going to be looking for bounces, or we're going to be looking for prices sometimes to touch. If we build underneath, we look to come back down. But it's an area that we heavily put a lot of emphasis on. And if we extend this out, which I didn't in our previous map, but I am now, if we extend it out, we can see that WikiCat came exactly to this area. So on our previous maps, when we type in WikiCat, we'll see these curvatures, but we didn't add the sword cut. So that was of note. Beautiful thing. You can see that we just touched, and we don't always touch the bottom side, but in my experience with targets and sword cuts, we usually hit one side or the other. When price is in the range, we almost never just bounce right from the range. We usually go from one side to the other, either on top or on bottom. It's more common, okay? So just keep that in mind. Isn't that quite nice? Don't you love our maps? Don't you love the tools? Our whole method is called Sword Method. Currently, we're on version 6.0. Okay, when our book is released, it should be at least 7.0 when it comes time for those days, which is not so far in the future. We had a downtrend in these areas, and we were looking at after this health was revealed, we had a down move here, and the next health was revealed after that break, which is closer to January 20th. Then prices moved up, and we're coming back down. Let's see, this is good, interesting. In the macro view, I'm going to show you something quite nice. In the macro view of the volume, this is not micro, this is macro view. For WikiCat, we have this nice increase in volume on these days, and on the pullback or on the down move during these days, we have a decrease in volume. And this is we can use this type of analysis to tell us market sentiment, okay? We want generally, if the market's going to be rising, we want to see that during the times when prices are rising, we want to have the volume steadily increase, and during times when prices are falling, we want to have the volume decrease, and this would tell us that they're not so interested in the down move, and that the down move is more likely a correction. Okay, so when we start seeing multiple of that, at least 2 or 3, we can conclude generally that's harmony. And that means that the harmony for this market would be moving up. Now, right now, we only have one such move, so we can't place too much weight on it, but as it is, it's looking like the sentiment for the market, in this case, is higher. It's telling us what it wants. And in this case, it's saying, hey, I want to move higher at the moment. It's saying, I don't want the lower prices, I want the higher prices currently. That's basically what some of that means. And now that's not always guaranteed. You're going to need to provide multiple analysis, but the more we paint the picture, the more it can represent what we're looking at. Now I'm going to show you something else. Some of these candles are really off, so you need to understand there's some weight to this. The basic structure, I'm going to have a little bit of concerns with buying right now because we are again at another sword cut. So this is where things should slow down for us in this moment. And this is a little scary because we're building a round structure underneath the sword cut, and we're getting a little squished right now at the moment. So I want to be really careful on just taking a buy at this point. I'd rather have found a better bottom. Okay, now I'm going to draw some other things for us right now. Let's draw the wick side. I have in my mid-phantom, okay, I'm going to show you this. The mid-phantom has some response. So this is where I want you to pay attention to me a little bit, because we're going to talk about reverberations right now. For WikiCat, I have a bottom that is based on these 2 angles. One of them has a large round structure, and the other is a little more peaky shape. And you guys remember from lessons 1, 2, and 3, these are round structures more important than peaks, but round structure can often be combined with peaks. This is where peak price is peaking as opposed to the round structure. Round structure is almost always more important. When this happened, I'm going to pay attention to the angle that was created. In this case, it was this angle. If I bring it to the upper side, which I did, we would call this a phantom angle. And the lower we would just call a standard key angle. 50% in the middle is what we call mid-phantom or MP. If you're new to our method, this is something we do all the time. Now, mid-phantom is important, especially if we have verification. My first question to you, my friends, did we have verification along mid-phantom? Approximately? Yes or no? What do you think? Mid-phantom.
Yes.
Yes. Why yes? Somebody say why.
Because you can see that it respected the line a couple of times.
Okay, good job. We can see mid-phantom is respected. What might it mean if the mid-phantom is respected, both on top and bottom? We know it's verification, but what might it mean when the bulk of the candles is respecting that line or that angle? And after that question, after what it might mean, how can we use that to our advantage? It means a few things, and we can definitely use this. But what does it mean? Okay, you found your mid-phantoms being respected. Okay, so what?
You can take profit.
Okay, we can use it to take profit. Okay, what else?
You'll see it, I guess, health if it breaks above.
Okay, yep. We can use that for health markers or weakness markers. There's something else I'm looking for. Let's see if Armin might know.
Yeah, maybe a phantom angle. You have more confidence in the phantom angle and the key angle. Both
Cor-
of them.
That's something I'm looking for. It means we can look for more confidence. It means, I love your words. Thank you, Armin. We have more confidence. It means we have more confidence in the key and phantom angle. Okay. What else might it mean with our angle? Anybody have any other things? You can use for verifications. We can use to get out, exits, / entries, as Michelle said, Michelle Firecracker. What else?
We could draw, is it a shortcut or a step up?
We can draw step-ups. Yep, we can get step-ups.
By the way, they have this exact chart on US dollars. And on Gate.io, it doesn't have as much information, but that's where Pastor Keith saw it go from 30,000 to 400,000 to 700,000 and then back to 400,000 on his profit.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll use this map to let us know if we should be even considering that now or sometime in the future. Or at least I will. You guys can do what you want. Let's talk. We got step-ups that we can use, which are a flat line where we cross over the mid-phantom. We can use step-ups to determine flats along mid-phantom. We learned this from lessons 1, 2, and 3, such as here. Good job. I'm glad you remember step-ups. Okay. So what else can we use the mid-phantom for? If this is all new to you, I want you to type in lessons later on in the week on our lessons page. You're going to see all the various painting that emerges from the various tools within our bags. Anyone else want to add anything for when we see mid-phantom being respected? Come.
No, if it's respected and you know all the lines are correct, you can DP projection it.
Okay. We can DP projection it. I really like that. Okay. We can use it to DP project. Okay, so I'll type in, or I'll just write down, we can DP project. Now it'll be off this image, but basically we measure the distance from this top area to the bottom area. We duplicate by moving it on top, and we're going to get a target in the sky or an angle by which we can duplicate the phantom angle. It'll be angled down, and we can use that in the future, but that's something we can use. Good. Anything else? You guys are doing fantastic. I'm really proud of you. All right, I'll add one more. iPad says support resistance. Yep, we got that one. I would say this one. It lets us know that we're doing it right. It lets us know what angle we should pay attention to. But there's one more reason that we need to pay attention to just that angle. Because if the key angle is working, in this case, we know it's more working based on the mid-phantom, I know that this angle has a power that's going to echo. What might we call that echoing within sword method? Starts with an R. It's important. Anybody remember? Starts with an R. Reverberation. Good job, Toya. Good job, iPad. Reverberation. Reverberations are an echo of the actual key angle. So once I know where that key angle is, I can use that throughout at the various energy centers. The same way we use Tiger. It's an echo of that key angle, and I look to see that echo over and over again because that echo is the emphasis on the emotions of that group of buyers and sellers. It's the dominant factor. It lets us know not just the outer boundaries, but the inner boundaries too. And because of this, we can use it on the other sides, like wick sides. This is going to open up a little bit more doors, but basically what I'm going to look at is I can use this mid-phantom not just 50%, but I can use it throughout the whole. And this is fairly new to Sword Method 6.0. We talked about reverberations. You know this from my lessons page, reverberation. So if you type in lessons on our search bar, you're going to see one of the lessons, 1 through 17, talks about reverberations. In this case, I'm going to bring the reverberation line to the wick side and look to see in the past, because price can be verified forward and backwards, if I'm going to have some kind of verification on that side. Do I have verification on that side if I'm reverberating? Yes or no? On the wick side.
Yes.
Where?
Like, you want to know if you have confirmation that this is correct?
Yeah.
Oh, all the way to the left.
To the left, about there, right? You can see some of those candles rejecting on the underside. What about this wick right here? What this wick mean? Especially with this wick right here, that's right to the left. What might that mean? And how can I use it?
Bring it down and see if it matches.
She wins the gold medal award for today. I didn't think you guys were going to get that one. Bring it down a little bit to see if it matches. Now, why might we want to do that? Because the bulk of the trading is actually along that track. You see what happens? Now I'm able to capture this second wick here, not exactly this peak. I'm able to capture this wick right here, and I'm able to still get the meaty part of this here. Okay? When I have a key angle that reverberates along this side, how can I use that to help me make money, save money, protect my money? Navigate a trading map. How can I use that?
Now you have a better exit.
I have a better exit. Oh, would you look at that? Did you catch it? I don't know if these maps are blessing you guys, but I sure do like them. I sure do like them a lot. This reverberation gives us clues about where we should be looking at. Same tools that we use. It's just knowing how we can use some of these techniques a little bit. That comes up. Knowing how we can use these techniques a little bit more better, different tools for the job, is going to help point to more areas that we may not have saw in the past or past iterations of Sword Method. Okay. This actually lets us know that, hey, I might be looking for that, whatever price that is, lots of zeros, as a better bouncing off point, a better exit, and a better entry. In other words, along this track. Okay? So along this track, the underside weakness, the upper side health. It might give us a clue if we've seen structures there. Okay? So I hope that blesses people. Some little freebie I want to give you. Look for reverberations, because if you see the reverberation beyond the mid-phantom. Mid-phantom's great and all, step-ups are great, but you can use the echoing of the major bulk of the emotions of the traders. Understand what they're doing and learn how to ride what they're doing using the echoing technique, which is reverberation of the original echo. It's like, this is the key angle, echo, echo, echo. Okay. There might be also a reverberation on the lower side, approximately here. That means if price were to fall, we may fall to some of these areas. If you don't believe me, go ahead and test out some of these techniques yourself and see if you can calculate some of the hidden stuff that's within price. Here, I'll leave this price on the board for you. It's a lot of zeros, 86. You can use this to match the WBNB on Pancake Swap and use that as a marker. As it is, right now, there might be something else that could help us. So should we be buying WBNB right now underneath the sword cut? It might be a little bit dangerous. When might be a more proper time to buy? We can do a few things. We can see, are we still more likely to gravitate to the higher side? What might be a clue from here to here that we're more likely to incline to go to the higher side sometime in the future? What might be a clue using these 2 points? How can we use these 2 peaks to let me know volume? Good job, Taya. If we look at the volume, what am I looking for in the volume from point 1 to point 2 to indicate that I might be going higher? Decrease, increase in volume, which one?
Decrease.
If I see a decrease in volume, that's going to indicate I'm going higher right now. Increase is what we're looking. If I see it challenge multiple times, then even if they're selling, I know the selling's not winning. It's failing. So that means that the market's gravitating higher. On its own, we want to see high volume. Yes, that's important. But comparatively, in context, when I start comparing those, I want to see those in relationship to each other. I want to see them increase. That's going to let me know that they're failing even if there is selling. Let's take a look at the volume. In this case, I see the volume from these 2 points, and I'll just overemphasize it right here. Really high, and then we come back to the same area in the VZB, and the volume is approximately down here. So we're seeing a decrease in volume. Now that's not a really good sign for a more immediate continuation. Right now that's telling me that I'm not so incentivized to the top side right now. Okay, I'm not so incentivized. It's still pretty high. It might be aggregately high. If you're not really unsure, leave it alone and don't use that analysis. But at the moment, to me, it's not looking super incentivized to go to the higher side at the moment. So in other words, I may want to wait a little bit. This is going to be a wait for me. So now I've got round structure under sword cut, which is generally a bearish thing. I got no real strong incentive to go up at the moment. I might be looking to say, hey, this might be bearish. Okay, I'm in a weak spot. I might be looking for something like that. All right. If I'm going to go down, how far might be a good lower price? I can do a few things. Target system. I'll do these quickly so we can do other cryptos. But I might want to do the fixed range volume profile target system. I'm going to bring it to the second bottom, by the way, since I have this one right here. It's about 2 bottoms, so you're going to use the furthest one out. And then we're going to bring this to the top side. Right there. Okay, so I'm measuring this small segment from here to here. And it's going to give me some targets along the way. Let's see what the targets might reveal about the structures of price. Number 1, I have a target there. Number 2, I have a target. Ice blue is my backup color for a lot of stuff, if you guys notice. Okay. All right, my first target's there. My next target's going to be here. And then finally a third target going to be here. And then we'll draw our swing target for good measure. It overlaps about right there. All right, so we'll just say we'll leave that deleted, and since it's just overlapping. Okay, so I'm left with the targets. What might this reveal about target number 1? What might target number 1 reveal about price right now?
It's weak
Why?
because it's below the target in the sword cut.
When I fell, I was supposed to fall to here. I fell to there. I stopped for a day or two, and then I'm now underneath that area, and I'm rounding up, just like she said, I'm below the target. So this might actually not be a good thing. If I want to go higher, now I'm building in the basement. Something's wrong. I might have a higher incentive, therefore, to come down. You remember me from my first years doing Chartroom. I did this symbol for you all the time. Now I just use circles to denote the same type of effect without drawing arrows all over. But basically, this might tell us, hey, this is getting weak. And in fact, it's exactly where it's supposed to happen. I'm doing this live. I'm not making this up. I'm doing this live for you guys. I measured from there, up here, at that price. I didn't measure from down here. I measured from up there. If you take it right here, how was I going to ever know that target? Look where we're getting squashed just right now, today. See, this is how we can use this to our advantage. If price falls, where more likely I'm going to fall? I'm probably going to fall to maybe here, to these prices. And then if I don't fall further, I'm going to fall to where? Maybe down here. Now, what's unique about this target down here? What's unique about this target compared to this target up there? There's something special about that one, this one, the second one, compared to the first one. What's special about it?
It hasn't been hit.
Both of them haven't been hit, so that's not really nothing unique. Special. What might be special? There's something I want you to observe about this one. What do you think? What is it? Train your eyes. You
Sword
guys.
cut.
Sword cut. Why and where? And yes, that's the correct answer.
It's breaking that red line.
See the
That
red
is
line?
the behavior.
Good job. Here's the core. Here's your wick. Here's a verification of the wick when we came down, came back up. This is where we broke into health. There's the sword cut. Just like we drew this one, there's another smaller sword cut. Where? There. You guys can do all these analysis. You're saying, Jason, I can't do all the analysis. You don't have to do all the analysis. But start somewhere and then start painting the picture and see what the story is revealing. Because it's going to reveal something that you're not going to see unless you start the journey. When you're driving to California and you're driving at night, you're only going to see 200 feet in front of you. Right? You have to trust that if you go that 200 feet, you're going to see another 200 feet. It's the same with the directions in life that you're taking. Sometimes you just walk a few feet ahead and hope that God will reveal more of the path as you take those steps. God told Abraham, walk into the breadth of the land, to and fro. Wherever your foot finds, it will become yours. Sometimes you have to take that first step before you start conquering that territory. I want to be good at trading. Start! I remember the book, not that I'm endorsing the book, but there's a book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. He tells the main character in the story meets this wise alchemist. And this guy's like, I got all these chemicals and all this stuff and I want to do all this and I'm told to find you. What should I do? And he said, wait, so you're telling me that you want to be an alchemist? And he says, yes, teach me, O wise one. What should I do? Give me the advice. Just give me the advice. And he's like, then start. And he said, that's it? And he said, yeah. And then he said this, if you think you can do it, then try. But he's waiting for these profound words. And he goes back to his friend. I'm disappointed. I met with this wise alchemist. And all he said was, if you think you can do it, then you should try. And he said, what are you going to do? The friend said. And the man said, then I'm going to try. It's simple, but it's very profound. Sometimes a lot of you are scared to attempt to charts because you're scared of making a decision. Don't be hard on yourself. Just attempt somewhere. God is often looking for your first step of faith. Make a step somewhere in some direction, and then God can bless it or pivot you in a different direction. My pastor once had a conference, and he told the group this on one of the final days. He said, when you're going in a direction and you don't know the will of the Lord, go in any direction and then pray and search for the peace. As we've been preaching about on Sundays, every Sunday we're having our WordRoom message. If you guys are new to our community, I want you to see the WordRoom messages from Sundays. I'm preaching a series called Forcing and Clarity. We're talking about the path of the Lord, getting our prayers answered, and going in those paths. When our path is perverted, when our path is in the way, that we should go. One of the scriptures I highlighted is the apostles who were going in those directions, trying to go to Asia, and they were prevented from the Spirit. By the Spirit, they were prevented to go. It was very much in the will of God to preach the gospel to all nations, and yet the Holy Spirit's not preventing them. What? Make that make sense. Then they go in a different direction, and they're prevented there. But then those no's led them to the yes. Those no's led them to the place where they were supposed to be preaching that was going to be the most effective for them at that time in their life. Not everything's available, and you may not know which one is which. But as you start going in those directions, the Lord will lead you in the right direction. Now, I'm not saying commit to every direction, but commit to try. Some people are scared to move until they got everything lined up and all the stars are lined up. Try. Make a decision to go, but pray every step of the way that your path is guarded. Pray every morning. Pray about it as you're walking, and then you're going to get to a wall, and the Holy Spirit's going to say, this is your no. And it's going to be like, oh, I need to pivot in a different direction. Oftentimes, you're going to learn things about yourself along the way. You're going to grow your faith. You're going to grow your dependency on hearing the Lord. But try. Here we go. Let's highlight some of these numbers, and we'll leave off. Now, since the sword cut is on the upper side, and the target's on the upper side, I'm probably going to be more concerned with the upper side. So if you wanted to denote this on your map, you could do the same. Okay, I'm going to put these numbers, I'm going to put a price match or a price line somewhere here. So if I'm using this to gauge me if I should be entering WikiCat right now, I'm going to say it's a no. And I'll probably wait maybe to the shortcut, maybe to here. I could probably even do another, yeah, that's the target system. I could probably do other target systems to overlap these, but this is where I'll leave you at right now. If we go up, we'll be looking to
zoom out.
Yeah.
And make sure you're on logarithmic. I feel like we're coming to a vortex. So if you draw a key angle at the bottom and the top, it's coming to a point in the big picture. Like it's coming to a vortex.
It's logarithmic.
Okay. Do you see anything?
There's a vortex up, the next closest vortex, probably where the reverberation meets. It's already last week, so I'm not going to put too much emphasis on that vortex meet. You may see one. I don't have it at the moment. Huh. All right. Anyone else regarding WikiCat? I'm going to say wait. For me, I'm going to wait. I'm probably going to get cheaper prices, especially in a bear market. All right. At least my opinion is we're in a bear market. Let's now look at XLM. XLM is a crypto that we look at from time to time. I like it. I know it's going to be probably do well in the future. I've been waiting for the right time to get into XLM. As you guys know, I've not been bullish XLM. It's been on the back burner, and I'm glad. It might be a good shorting opportunity in the past. Our last health should have been approximately here. We have a watch line with a downward oscillation between this angle. We were able to use that to capture a few bottoms. Here. Here's one. Hit exactly. Here's another at 22.81. Here's another, that was in March 10th. Here's another exactly. April 7th. Okay. Exactly. Exact numbers almost, or very close to the exact numbers. Isn't that interesting? We did that by taking the watch line, and we have a wick match, which means we're watching the upper part. Brought it to our foundational area, and in our foundational area, at the core area, we're here. Now, if I bring this to the wick side, I have a lower range, but to be conservative, at the meaty part, here, 1, 2, 3. Approximately 3 hits based on this angle. I hope this helps you. Meat, or core, what we call, wick, wick, wick. Okay, now we're almost at the target, or we're at the target of this range. What is that range? Looks like somewhere between 19 and 16 cents. Let's go a little bit further. Oh, I'm going to show you one image. Okay. Okay, here is our previous XLM map from March 17th. Oh, sorry. From March 17th. We can see that XLM's watch line has been firmly in place since the beginning. And we can see that the first target was 31 cents. We hit there, bounce, and underneath this area. Once we got closes underneath and we're rejecting on the upper side, what does that generally mean when we're bouncing under the target? What does it mean? Let's all say it together. What is it?
Down.
Down. It means we're more likely to move down. Now, we did have a step up here, but that step up was filled right away. See? We also had an old inactive target because it was already hit previously. Now we're looking at this unhit target, 19 to 16 cents. And now we're almost there. Okay, so this is a previous from, let me get the day for this. March 17th. Previous. And this is how we can use some of these tools to our advantage to understand the structure of price with a more higher degree of clarity. Here we're hitting the underside of the target. We came down again to step up, hit the lower watch line, which is basically a duplication of the key angle. It's a phantom. On here it says KA, but it actually should say PA. Before that class was over, I gave you this angle. It's the same angle. That's why I just pulled this up live. I'm not pulling these up beforehand. Just keep teaching you. Like, anyone can do this, and you can do it. You know, you can do it. Okay? I'm not trying to recreate these maps. They're there. Okay? I've done this lots of times in the past, and you guys can use these techniques to your advantage. Let's continue. Okay? So now we're very close to the target. We need to watch that target for hitting. Okay? If price is going to be continuing further, I might be looking to get out closer to the lower target. If I'm going to buy it anyway, I'm probably not going to buy it at step up unless I have a lot of reasons to buy it with step up. You know how I can determine if it's going to buy it at step up? I'll show you how real quick. If I'm hitting the step up or a flat area or an area multiple times, I can use those two times to determine with more clarity which direction I'm likely to go using volume. Here we have a price come down in wick, and here we come down and hit this area. So I can use these two and see if there's an increase, if there's an equal to, or if there's an aggregately high volume. I can use those to determine if I'm more likely to continue down. That's one way you can do the micro view. And I use yellow when I'm doing this. I can also determine if price is going to be going down by determining the sentiment. For example, if we're decreasing and I keep going higher, it's telling me the sentiment is that I want to go lower. And it's telling us if we have these up moves where the volume is low or decreasing, it tells us, hey, I'm not interested in the lower prices. I'm sorry, in the higher prices. So this would tell me sentiment. We call this the macro view. Both of these I can use to determine or paint a picture of what the odds are. One of the analysis on its own is not enough, but if we keep painting the picture, it will reveal. Let's see if we can find something. First, I'm going to turn on my histogram to give me a good determination of the sentiment. Then I'll do the other one. Histogram. All right, let's see if it gives me anything. Let's turn on, let's go to maybe a 12-hour chart to confirm these candles a little bit. Good. Let's see if I'm clear at all. Up. Up. The first one, the volume, is still steadily high, and it was increasing here, and then we decrease, or then we fall. We fall, there was a decrease. This is interesting because it might reveal that the sentiment is not as bearish as we think. This is a risky short in that situation. The next up move here, we start seeing still a decrease. This is where we start seeing a decrease again, and this is where things are turning around for us. So this is where things are still bad, but now it's in the up move. This is where we're going to start thinking a little bit bearish, possibly after those days. The next down move becomes an increase in volume, which is very interesting. Again, after these days, things are changing. This is now starting to look bearish. Then we have another up move, and this is where they're not interested in the up move. See? The up move is here, but the volume is decreasing. So it's telling us this is starting to look bearish here, looking bearish here, and now looking bearish here. So before it wasn't safe to short this. Now it's starting to look like, hey, you may want to short this. Again, this is a decrease. Now, what about this down move? The last down move, it was here. What was the volume doing? It was increasing. Now they're saying, yes, we want to start going down. So more bearishness. What about this up move here? We're seeing an up move with ultra high volume. Something's usually wrong. We want to see a steady increase. We'd have to look for at the micro volume and see. But the average is now very high. But this volume is in a place of weakness. Something's wrong. I think it might be time to start shorting or looking for shorting. Now we're going to look at the micro view. Here, these two areas together, as I showed you. Oops, not that one. This is not a good picture for it because it's getting skewed here. Let's do that. Get. That's better. So the volume was relatively high in this pair, and then now in this two pair, we're even higher. So we have the increase in volume from 0.1 and 0.2. This indicates we're more likely to play to the low side. That's what that's indicating. So in both examples, they're both giving us bearish sentiment overall between the two, between the macro and the micro. Now, this is not a tutorial for the macro. This is just my analysis. If you want those tutorials, you're going to watch our bonus lessons from lessons 1 through 17 on our bonus lessons. We have 2 of them, and I'm going to show you. So now we have something, we still have a lot of sentiment to the downside, but now we got this off the chart volume after the fact in an area of weakness. This could be buying, but I don't believe it. I don't believe it because of where I'm at in the chart. I'm in a downtrend. I'm not at the lowest target. At least I didn't see it. I'm not in an area of health either. Why now, on this up move, is there really strong volume right here and not even at the lowest point? It's not even right here on April 6th. Why is the upper volume just right there closer to the side? What's unique about there? I'll tell you what's unique about there. That's the meaty part of this flat. I'll show you. The core is basically there. This is selling after the fact, in my opinion. Look. It's very close to these areas. 1, 2, 3. These candles are all on the underside of this flat, about right there. I don't like it. Something's wrong with this. I don't like to be so close to the underside of this with super high volume on the underside in weakness. Something's wrong. I think it's selling after the fact. Is this going to be a little bit harder to confirm because the foundation area is a little bit off? But I don't buy it. I think it's dumping after the fact. Just like this was still a possible bullish area, but then the weakness started appearing, the sentiment started changing, and we entered weakness. This is a similar, I think this is a similar thing. I think it's like this was the saving grace. And when it was revealed that they're losing, this is when you got to dump. So this is them dumping, in my opinion. Okay? This is that, I think. Okay. I think I'm going to end this segment here. You guys can do further analysis and see what you think about yourself. But as far as me goes, I think I might even be looking to short XDC quite soon. I want to have a better structure.
11 cents?
Huh?
Do you see 11 cents?
11 cents, huh? 11 cents is down here at the shortcut. Why?
Okay. People are talking about it and they're saying that's a price point that they're being shown.
Wow.
Yep.
Really?
And then at that point, you better load up.
Okay. That's the sword cut. That's on the high side of the sword cut. I need to raise that a little bit. I do apologize. This is on the high side of the sword cut, which is approximately...
Do you see 9 cents?
Oh, hold on. I might be able to. I might see it. Here, this sword cut I got is around 12.129, which is 12 cents, 13 cents, to 11.79. That's about where that sword cut is. If I'm, it needs to level off probably a little bit better. 9 cents is where this is going to level off, I think. Let me level it off first. You guys know from our lessons that parabolics level off. This is going to level off about right there. And by level off, this curve basically hits an apex, right? Where it hits that apex is basically there. So this is going to level off somewhere about right here, and that is 11.6 to 11.0. 9 cents is going to be the lower parabolic, that oscillation that's curving this way. That's where it's going to level off. And what I mean again by that is that this parabolic eventually has an apex and comes down like a curve, like a circle. So that's going to level off approximately there, and that is about 9 cents. Let's borrow this one and make it blue. So we'll put these on the map for the next few months. You guys can watch these areas. 0.088, which is close to 9, and 0.085 is approximately the range. Okay.
Yeah, I want to say it might be a wick also going down there. I hear 32, 35, and they struggle, and that keeps telling you, the lower wick keeps telling me to my stroll at that 50-cent area. And I think the other numbers that the Lord gave me for that was $1.10.
Yep, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
50-cent target. XLM struggling will have no time frame. Also, Abba said to me 110. Updated. Also $5 2 weeks ago. He said this morning to me, XLM $6. 6 is the number of man. Pray for all these things. $12, $15 when it crosses over.
Amen. Thank you, Lord.
Okay. Now, I'm thinking to myself, the target first needs to be properly hit. If people are seeing 12, you may want to pay attention more towards that leveled off parabolic closer to, if people are saying 11, you probably want to pay attention to this 11 number. Watch it and see if you can get it. Now, it might be a great shorting opportunity to short down in this current, again, I believe we're in a bear market, okay? USDT.D is still in the upper region, so we're looking for this to continue to go down. A lot of cryptos we're still looking only to short. We're only looking to make money in the futures market down, or 3S positions like a Bitcoin. You guys know I'm bearish Bitcoin to about 86, 84. I don't know if we're going to hit all that, but around that range I'm looking for us to continue going down. Sorry, I think it's 64, 68. Sorry, 64 to 68. So I'm bearish. As long as we're in a bear market, it's possible for some of those numbers to continue hitting, and it's possible for XLM to continue going down. I'm going to do one more look at this volume, and this time I'm going to look at it in a different way. I'm going to hide my lines, and then we'll finish.
You see 4 cents.
We see 4 cents.
Oh. It's not the first time that I've heard 4 cents.
At the moment, I don't. Oh, wait. Yeah, 4 is here, Triple J. It's a very, look at that. That's the meaty part of this area. So if I'm like looking at this, this is the noise. This is the bulk of the curve. That's 4. Look. It's very. Here's 0.58 and here's 0.48. So somewhere around maybe 0.049. That's just the average. That's not even the noise here or the meaty part. So if you do core cluster, it might help you get there. You seen that?
Yeah, I hear 4. Sometimes the Lord will give me a 4, and it could be 4.9, 4.5. It's the area, or it could just hit that specific number.
Could be. Yep.
Be a wick down there, like he's done many times with other stuff. Yeah.
I haven't drawn a map for this just yet, but it's definitely something we can keep on the horizon.
Yeah.
I'll put my line here. Yeah, you already have the 4 on there. You have a 4 on the area, but I'll put a flat or actually.
For goodness sake! Oh my God.
Okay, so you're hearing it again. That's good when you hear the same numbers over and over again, right? It helps you reinforce those numbers. We appreciate your hearing. All right. Could you imagine getting some at 4? I hope you guys do well. I'm going to do one more thing, and I'm going to show you something important. Please pay attention. I'm going to hide all my lines. One final look we can do. I like the macro sentiment. When the market's moving higher and the volumes are moving up, that lets us know. When the market's moving higher and the volume keeps increasing on every up move, that's generally telling us that the market is wanting to move up. If in addition to that, in the down moves, the market's generally going down. As I taught you just a little bit as a quick preview, even though that wasn't a tutorial. One of the ways we can know that this is a better time to buy is if this down move is on decreasing volume. If this down move right here that we've been experiencing over the last week since November of 2024, months I should say, if this move right here is on decreasing volume overall, that means get ready for this to be broken in the time of the future. However, if it's just the opposite, if it's equal or even increasing, that means that the sentiment of the market is going to be looking to go down with more higher probability. In those cases, we'll be looking for lower prices. Let's take a look and see what the volume reveals. The volume has been, during this down move, overall decreasing. That tells us that up until these points, we're looking for some kind of reversal into health in the future. That means somewhere above there, which we're not there yet. So we don't have permission to buy it anyway. However, something new happened, as I just mentioned a little while ago, in the micro view. And that was this one. So we're using this tools in the macro view, and individual bars or individual groupings of candles in the micro view. And this is where something's telling us that it's terribly wrong. I'm going to do one more thing regarding this, and I'm going to do target system on the larger move. And I'm going to just confirm that I have that. Okay, and here's what I'm going to do, just to confirm that I have this target right. I'm going to use the low, in this case it's this low, to this high, and one more target was revealed. It's this one right here. And I'll use ice blue since I already used the teal colors here. Okay. Apart from that, there's one more target to the low side. Does anybody know where it's at, by the way? Just a little quiz. I did one target that's here. It overlaps our current target. What? There was one more target there. Where is it? There it is. Good job. Who drew that? You did great. Okay. Lamont, I think I did XDC this past week. Okay. There it is. Here's the target. What's unique about this area here? About this target down here? And I'll put those prices. What observations can we make about this target that's down here?
It was hit a lot.
It was hit a lot. Sign. One of the things I want you to see is if we're counting the straights here, I think this is on a larger time frame, maybe of a monthly chart. There is a hit, there is an angle I drew down here. Apart from the parabolic, the sword cut would actually extend down to that range where we crossed over. If I'm including the parabolic break, as well as this break down here, as a range, that target that we just drew is overlapping in those areas. So I could, let me update this. Here's 13 cents. I need to just kind of make sure these numbers are pretty good. To 11.0. Okay. What I'm saying is, it's more attention back on those lower areas. It's more attention back in these areas down here. That's an observation we can make. We also can make observations that we wicked up and hit this other target, and it's overlapping here. So we're probably going to have two stopping points closer to these prices, and a vortex that's around, when is the vortex? April 21st. So we have a vortex around April 21st, and we have lots of lower targets. Bounces in these ranges around 11 cents. Here's 10, here's 11, here's 12, high 12s to 13. So somewhere in these areas we're getting a lot of overlap. This is where we're going to start looking for prices that if they build below these targets, we're going to look to come all the way down here and clear that range. So there'll be potential for a lot of money to be made when these times come. Okay, right now, not so much yet. It's looking bearish, but there'll be some times for us to be bouncing in these areas. Okay, and with that, I'll leave you with XDC. Okay, let's just quickly calculate how much potential is on the board.
XLMJ.
XLM. Thank you.
I got one more question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Because I believe that I had old numbers when it was 11 and 13 cents. Those are old numbers for me. And 18, I believe it's revisiting. I hear the word revisiting from the revisiting numbers.
Okay. April 17th, April 12th. Okay.
You know, if I hear 1.7, here we go again with that 1.7.
Are you saying you're hearing 1.7? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Lamont.
just wanted to ask one question because I might have to bounce out real quick. Do you think that the markets are about to pull back again, like far as being more bearish?
Yeah. I want you to I want you to look at my video from Wednesday, my last Wednesday and Saturday. I did a big market reports for USDT.D. Okay, and I want you to see that's my big commentary. I'm bearish the markets. I'm still very much bearish the markets, and you'll see why in those videos. Okay, so you're going to be looking for the lower parts of the map XDs on our website. Let me just show you real quick. Why is this not in order? Oh, date. Okay, on XDC 4 days ago we did one with XDC. So if you look at my chart, I want you to type in XDC in the search bar, and you're going to find episode April 7th, and you're going to see a good analysis for XDC. Okay, those are tags, and it's gonna go over some information about XDC, and the video for that is here in part 2. Okay, the April 7th, and that video is going to teach you a lot about the USDT.D, how I feel the market sentiment. So if anyone who wants to know how I feel about the markets, me, my personal self, look to see when I do USDT.D videos. I don't always do them, but I do them quite often enough to get you guys knowing which territories we are. We are in still bearish territory. I'm not authorized to take bullish trades, in other words. Now let's look at copper. All right, let's do this. So if I type in copper, it's going to pull up my chart for copper up here. I'm looking at capital.com, XCU. All right, here's my map, and look at copper. Wow, are these numbers good or are these numbers good? See gesture map tutorial March 19th. I have an oscillation from here to here. It looks like just this week we hit the lower part of that oscillation right there. Almost exactly. $4.05. I hope these maps are a blessing to you guys. We also caught the upper part of the meaty part looks like a few weeks ago here, March 31st. Look, we got squashed down right there in that area. We're also looking at the upward oscillation here, watching this watch line, and there's weakness that appeared right there. Let's pull up a daily chart. You guys can see it. So this is our weakness. This is when prices are looking weak for copper, and it looks like we came down. So, pretty good, right? Pretty good. Let me see something real quick. Okay. All right, here we are with our previous March 19th. Guys, I hope these maps are a blessing to you. I hope you guys tell people about our community. I'm glad I'm here to be able to serve you with some of these maps, get you in the ballpark. I can't predict the future, guys. I can't predict the future. Maybe the Lord helps us with our prophetic gift in these ways, but I can catch you in the ballpark. Okay? I can help get you as close as possible to whatever it is you're navigating. I can't tell you what to buy and sell. This is never financial investment or trading advice of any kind. Everything's just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. The Lord is going to lead you and guide you. Every person has their own gift from God. That's what the Bible says. And some of you guys I don't want you to all trade as a group. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to let's all do this, because you can really mess yourself up with groupthink. Groupthink can really mess people up, but it's powerful. It's very powerful, but it can mess you up. I want you guys to even know that's scientifically the case. Scientifically, there's been experiments that have been replicated where people started only thinking as a group. They lost this is like a inward intuition, as if it were your gut feeling. When they would guess how many jelly beans or marbles was in something, the average person would get the number the average was almost always exactly right. But when they were talking with each other, they convinced each other and they thought wrong many times. And they lost that ability to find what that average was. Every person has their own unique gifts from God. You all bring something to the table. You all participate. So each person should be, as the Bible says, each person should be convinced. Make your election sure. I want you to rather have your own charts, your own conversation with God. Bring those to the table and then see where the chips may fall where they may. That will paint a better picture. Rather than everybody just trade the same thing, some of you are having your eyes on gold or silver or copper or whatever it is. That's a more wiser way than everybody just saying, let's do it all at once. God dispersed them from Babylon for a reason. And he saw that everyone was in one mind and one accord. And he said, Let's go down and confuse them, because God said, I want you to multiply across the earth and subdue the earth and fulfill the earth. What works in New York doesn't work in Kansas or Iowa. What works in one place is not always good for the group. It's good for certain people. It's great for city people, but God also made country people as well. God made people who love the cold. God made people who love the hot. You understand? Across the world, He gave us various spectrums of skin color, various diversities within the DNA. We're all, and this is not an equity and discussion type of discussion. I'm not all for that. But we're all different. We all have our own gift from God. We all bring different things. So I don't want you to lose your individuality when it comes to charts. Instead, I want you to rather practice, or as I mentioned earlier, try. Do your best analysis and then bring that to the table. Okay? Somebody's not all going to agree with you. So don't worry about that. People don't agree with me all the time. I'm not always right all the time. People have a right to disagree. We have to love each other through our disagreements. If we can, find common interest, but nothing should be debated on. The Bible tells us avoid fruitless arguments and debates. If they don't agree, they don't agree. That's fine. It's just your analysis. So don't be afraid. Put yourself out there. Okay? So what I'm saying is that it's better for you to pick the cryptos that God is leading you. That may not be for everybody. That will be for you. Don't feel bad if the cryptos that you're holding are not the cryptos your neighbors are holding. And if someone says, no, get away from that crypto, you have to take that before the Lord in prayer. But you don't have to necessarily do what everybody in the group is doing. Please know that. Okay? We're not just singing around Kumbaya, the fire all the time. That's nice. It's great to sing Kumbaya. But every person has their own purposes for God. I'm here to help you get that purpose that God has trained you. Eventually that group will bless the community, and not just our community, but the world. Because God has light inside of you that He's trying to get to the world. And there's ways that you'll do it that I will never be able to do it. People that you'll reach, I'll never reach. So keep that individualness a little bit. All right? All right. I just wanted to say that. That's on my heart. All right. Now we're looking at this oscillation for copper. I'm going to keep my eye on the sword cut, but now even more so because I was looking at a flat on the monthly chart. Here's the flat on the monthly chart, and I'll show you how this overlaps. If I pull up the monthly chart, I can actually see the flat is actually approximately right here at these prices. Let's type them in. Monthly flat has a $4.80 to $4.73. It's about right here. Let's put those words on the right side to make them a little easier to see. Let's make them white to be a little bit better. And now I'm left in here. Something like this. See those words? $4.73. This comes in more important right now because as I come back down to the smaller time frames, I've got my close well underneath on the weekly and on the daily chart. So I'm going to be paying attention now to this area because this is approximately where the sword cut overlaps. It's here. Right there. If you want to mark that, I don't need to give it another price. It's the same price. So now I have a very important place to look for. If I see prices rounding underneath there, I may look for prices to come down. In other words, I can just borrow the same weakness I knew from last time and I can just bring it about right here. Okay, so we'll be looking for copper to probably reverse in these areas with a more higher degree of confidence. That's something I'm going to keep my eye on. If I'm in a bullish position, I only want to be taking bullish trades. If I'm going to be bullish copper, where do I enter copper? Can somebody point to me the entries on this chart, please? Let's take 2 minutes and find all the entries on this chart, please. Draw them. Okay. Where's our bullish entries? There might be a bullish entry up here. That's good. Okay, let's mark some of these on the map. Let's put a little circle. If price comes up above these areas, we might be looking to be bullish copper. Okay, where else? Where's the bullish entries? There's 2 that I see on this chart. I want to see if you can find. Maybe there's more. Maybe above the sword cut. Okay, possibly above that sword cut. There might be one. Maybe it's a little one. Where else? Where was a nice place to enter this crypto? In the past. The reason I'm pointing it out. Okay, good job. Armin's got that one. It's going to be here. What? This might be an entry. What about in the past? Where was the entry in the past? Okay, there might be one here. Why here? That's a good one. And that's the other one I'm looking for. Okay. Why this one right here? Why might this be a good entry here? Somebody give me some reasons why. Let's talk about that one. We got some of these other ones, but why? Okay, we got some verification along that line. Okay, we got some verification along that line. Good job. But there's another entry. When we got verification on line, we can use it sometimes just for an entry, even a single line. So we might want to have low buy orders for that one. But there's another reason. There we go. There's a flat. There's a possible flat that's going on here. And it's a vortex. When they start overlapping, that becomes a vortex. Correct? Is there another reason why this area is a good price? There it is. Good job, Lisa. Good job, Lisa. She's on fire today. Did you guys see that downward trend right there? Okay, if I'm bringing this from the core part, which is about right here, and that's my meaty part, okay, core, and this is a core. What is this here? When price wicked and came down, what is that?
Resistance.
It acts like resistance, but we call this something. Once we know that
Verification.
we can use it as verification for the strength of the original angle. Okay. What about right now? What observations do we make right now?
More verification.
What do you mean?
The candle has to close. This is a weekly chart, so by tomorrow, if it closes above that line, we're still in some health.
In some ways, you don't have to wait for the close, and I think that's because this is the commodities and it's based on the stock market, right? Closed. So yeah, crypto's a 24-hour, forex is a 24-hour market, but this market's not always open, from what I understand.
We're at a shortcut.
It's something like that, but I would say more so we're just sitting on that line. It looks like. Do you see how we spiked all the way down here for that session last week? But then we end up coming up here. The root of that move is about here. So it got bought up all the way back to its original and then some. It now looks and appears like it's sitting on that line, which is quite nice. Which means this is a good candle for for copper at the moment. So if anything, I'd probably want to be a little bit bullish in an uptrend, right? We want to hunt the down moves. The only problem is we may have some problems here. So if I'm in a bullish position, I'm probably going to hold until there. And then I'll probably get out. I probably won't short copper, but I'll probably take some profit at 480 to 470. If I'm being conservative, which price am I going to get out at?
The lower target.
The lower, 473 rather than 480. If I'm not so confident in my lines, or I was too general, or I'm not so sure that I drew my lines correctly, I'm just going to exit a little bit before anyway, which I do all the time. Okay, I give myself some wiggle room for error. I'm more concerned with the essence of what price is doing. So if I was going to draw, I would draw something like that. Okay. All right. I'll leave copper alone. Anyone have any questions, comments, my thoughts on copper? All right. Let's finish up today. XRP. Let's pull up XRP. Oh, here's my two charts on XRP. XRP finding support at this area of the $2. However, what's wrong with the picture? Did anybody remember what I told you about the volume? Anybody remember what I told you that's dangerous about the volume? Something was important to know about the volume from here to here. Anybody remember?
The volume from where to where?
From here and here to here. Primarily this one right here back in February 4th to just this past week, April 7th. I gave you something really important to know about the volume. What did we need to understand about the volume? Something, it was telling us something really important at that vortex, April 3rd. We know to look at it. We did a whole class on it after our previous class. We knew to wait for XRP, then we saw it, and then we did the next class, which we found something important. Did anybody remember what we found? What was our findings on XRP? And how it relates to the future of XRP price more recently? Who remembers?
Still too much supply?
Still too much supply. How do we know there's still too much supply? And yes, that's the right answer. How do we know there's still too much supply?
When it's going down, the volume's increasing?
The volume's either increasing, These are the scenarios. They're going to be one of 3 scenarios. The first one's increasing. What is the next scenario? This is the legend we draw all the time. There's 3 scenarios. One's increasing. What's the next one?
Decreasing.
Nope. 2 that are going to tell us a continuation, or that the supply is not equal to. Equal to. There you go. Good job. Equal to. What's the third one?
Well, wouldn't it be decreasing?
No. These all aggregately high. All 3 of these are the same, basically. They all give us the same information. They tell us the supply is not absorbed. This is the legend I give you. So even if there's buying, okay, even if there's buying, which we can identify, if the buying is not fully absorbed, it's very expensive for them to rise prices. It's very expensive. This is the game. This is how the stock market, this is what Wyckoff taught us. This is what Gavin Holmes and Tom Williams, before he died, taught us. They taught us how the game actually works. The secret meetings that used to go on in the 1920s and 30s, now it's in the data. It's there. It lets us know who's winning the game. Even if their banks or hedge funds or large institutional money is buying, if they have not absorbed the supply, you're not going to win. It's going to be very hard to bring prices higher and sustain it. It's much easier to let it come to you. If you're a buyer in real estate, you're buying up houses as cheap as you can get. However, if somebody says to you, hey, if you go down the street or if you wait just one more month, you're going to get prices 20% off, 30% off, 40% off. What are you going to do? You're going to wait. Melody's buying yard, making her amaguri. And she says to me, hey, I like this, but I'm going to wait till next month until Joanne's prices come down. When they went down, she went back to get some more yarn. We went to the mall the other day. She saw a jacket she liked. I said, get the jacket. She goes, no. I said, why not? It's on sale. It's 40% off. She said, yeah, I'm going to wait one more week. I said, is there enough supply still? And she counted. And she said, yeah, there's still 2. So I'm not worried about them going. It was here last time. I think it's still going to be here in 2 more weeks. I'm going to let the price come to me because there's still too much supply. I'm going to let So when you understand this principle and how it works, if there's still a lot of supply, too many traders willing to part with their XRP at this price, and they can get away with it because the data is telling them, the supply is telling them, the trading activity reveals those supply, then you can do what they do and just wait. This is how I knew USDT.D was going to move higher. This is how I knew XDC was going to move lower. This is why I exited the market at the top of the market when I did. This is why I do a lot. This is why I took the trade, the short on Bitcoin. I use this technique all the time now. And I'm teaching it to you guys week after week using the legend. That one lets me know the supply has not been absorbed. So even if there's buying, they're not winning. Okay? This day, it looked like the supply was draining, but then there was one more test here, and the test was a fail. So I know that most likely now the probability of XRPs going up is much difficult at this moment. More likely you're going to play in this range lower. That's my analysis. It's not always guaranteed, but this is the bulk of the game. Okay? We're most likely going to play with lower prices for XRP. That's the analysis I gave you in my previous video. Okay? If I saw, however, the third legend, which was this one, which I'll delete, where there's a decrease in the supply. Okay? There's a decrease in volume. Then I know that most likely the supply has been absorbed. But right now that's not the case. Right now it's equal to. The volume is equal. Or, at the very most, it's aggregately high. See? Look. It's pretty high. Comparatively to the moves. Compared to 1 and 2. So I'm not comparing all the volume together. I'm comparing area 1 to area 2. Multiple times we have lots of areas. In fact, this one has lots of them we did in that video. But right now they're not winning the game. So I can tell who's winning. There was a story of a man, my ex-pastor used to always tell me. He used to tell me this. He used to say, there was a dog fighter who would watch the dogs fight. And he would have people win, and he would always bet himself. He owned 2 dogs, and people would bet, and sometimes people would win, and sometimes people would lose. But he always won. He knew he always won because it was simple. They said, how do you always win all the time? And he said, it's really simple. The dog I feed is the dog that dog that wins. They both look hungry and they both look ravenous and vicious, but one is secretly weaker. Meaning he understood who's weak and who's actually strong. Trend lines are great. Price will balance it within the trend lines. But there's another piece of data that lets you know who's winning the game or who's more likely to win the game. You combine this with a map, you got it. You got a lot of it. You need this alone without a map ain't going to help you. This alone is harder to read. Most of them, when they do this, they just use flats. And even then, in this example, you're not so far from the truth. Look. Pay attention. Who's winning the game in the volume? The Bears. They're holding on. I moved everything at 75% into XRP, but then about a week ago, I told you I moved out of how much percent? I moved down to 20%. I told people 40%. The very next day, I said, no, I moved to 20%. So I'm down to 20% XRP because of this. I'll come back in later in XRP. I believe XRP is going to do well. I'm going to do XRP. Some people never sell their XRP. But because of this kind of thing, I can see who's winning the game, at least in my opinion. And right now, XRP is not winning. At the very least, I know when to get back in XRP. It's here. Watch line. Right there. That's when I have a chance to go. I'm not there yet. It hasn't come in my circle. I can wait. I can play a safer game. Trump may announce something and tomorrow I'll only gain 20%. But I'm more likely to be able to pick up XRP half off or cheaper. Somewhere lower based on my map, I can find a place. And I can get back in. This is why I got out of XDC. Everything fell, and I moved to XRP and XDC. When I saw weakness starting to appear, I got out of XDC too. I shrunk my position down to 10 or 5%. Then, as I see weakness on XRP, I'm doing the same. I preserve my wealth while everybody's watching their market portfolios. I told you I moved 70% of everything into XRP and XDC, got out of XDC, okay? Then I shorted XDC, I made some money back, and then XRP is now showing the same thing. It tries to hold on, but it couldn't. It's the markets are too bearish. You're most likely now XRP is in a week as well. Now it has to fight with the rest of the fishes. So what's going to happen? XRP is going to be half off. We're going to take the last event. It's that angle. We're going to bring it to the lower energy center. It's here. That's how far price was supposed to fall first. It was supposed to fall to there along right that track, and that's already hit. So now we need new floors, and I'll give that to you right now, and then we'll end the video. Got it? At least that's my opinion, based on myself watching price action and understanding this. Okay, sorry. Armin has a question, and then I'll get to Triple J. You guys can unmute. Armin first. Question, comment?
No, I didn't have a question.
Okay. Triple J, raise your hand.
Yeah, I just want to say that I don't minimize, of course, because God will give you what you need. And I just want to say that the Lord's reminding me to say that all the glory to the Lord, because He was the one to look at the...
Yeah. You told me that for...
Is look at the volume.
You told me that for about 3 months before I put a big emphasis on upgrading my skill in volume. And you told me that's what the Lord was telling us.
Look at the volume.
Look at the volume, look at the volume, look at the volume. And I was like, okay.
And I had no idea what I was saying. I want you to know. Look at the volume, because crypto will go up and down. And the news are the news. And we just use it to our advantage. And the Lord will give us those numbers to use them to our advantage. But, you know, that 150 is coming, and I keep hearing 50 cents. I heard 93 cents. I heard the Lord say 89 cents. So it's coming. It's coming. So get your buy orders ready. And I believe that Christian's number will also come down to that 30. And yeah.
Good. To God be the glory. Wayne's World.
Well, Marco's got his hand up first. You want him to jump in?
Camino.
Yeah, thanks. As we're discussing XRP, I heard some people, and it made sense to me, some people are saying, hey, we're in a bear market because Bitcoin's down 30%, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
And I just want to remind everybody that the last time that we were in a bear cycle, XRP was at 35 cents. And we got a lot of our altcoins that are down 85, 90%. And I think that if XRP would have been driven down to those prices, it would have already done it.
Good. Okay. Wayne's World.
Yeah, that was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I remember I always follow Prophet Robin, and usually at the end of his YouTube video, it's question and answer. People ask question, and somebody asked about XRP, and he started speaking in tongues, and he said like $1.75, $1.76. Then we had that. Remember when Trump announced the tariffs?
Okay.
And then everything ran down. XRP kind of selling at 180, but I think it spiked on like 175, 170. So to me, he was on the money right on. So it was 3 or 4 days ago. I can't remember, whatever. And at the end, somebody asked about XRP in his question and answer. And he's speaking in tongues a little bit and says, yeah, I see $1.64, $1.61, somewhere in that. Do you see something on your map that's like $1.64, $1.61?
I wish we had done target system while we had the all-time high. I wish I would have done. I don't know why I didn't, but 176 is right here, and so is 163.
Okay, so then that's in the vicinity. So that's what you just seen there 3, 4, 5 days ago, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, just go ahead.
Because Abba spoke and it hit all the numbers. I don't know if you're going into VIP, but because God is my witness, and El Camino is my witness. The Lord gave a bunch of numbers, and the last number was 160, and
we hit.
And it hit
we hit it.
Abba spoke. And then he told me he said 150, and he said, oh, don't write it just yet. It's not coming just yet. So that's where I knew to hold that $1.50. But he does give the insight for us to know. So that's why I'm speaking it out. So we are vigilant and know what's going on.
Look at the rate, 160 all the way back to where? To 218. Now, overall, we can still see the structure, but that's some wide trading range. So if any of you guys are leveraged positions, please be careful, because you can be clearing that distance in just a single. This is a 2-day chart, so that's normal for XRP. Okay, look at just real quickly, and then I'll get back to Wayne's World. The average candle is what we teach you guys when you're trying to do stop losses and all that stuff. This is a baseline. You need to give yourself wiggle room. So if I'm buying at this price, look at the range. This is the same exact range. Look at. It's about this average trading range, right? So give yourself some wiggle room. Don't have your tight stops too tight, because you can still be right of your analysis, but the range is really wide, and you can hit those in a quick time. So be careful. Be careful. Wayne's World.
Yeah, because remember Trump, the tariffs came, and then the markets went down, and then Trump made another announcement that he was going to pause the tariffs for everybody but China. Then he says, "Oh no, we're raising you up to like 145% or 145." But it was after it went back up. XRP was like around $2, $2.05, $2, whatever it was, and then it was after that when I had heard Robin a few days ago, whatever, 3, I can't remember. And that's when somebody asked him at the end of the program, and he spoke in tongues a bit, and then he said, I see, I don't know, like $1.64, $1.61, something like that, right in that range, and then that was the end of the program. So I just wanted to throw that into the mix, because now it could spike down further, who knows, whatever. But anyway, he spoke that after XRP went back up. Okay. What did XRP go up? About a week ago, when all the market went up whenever Trump was we was going to pause the tariffs for 90 days.
Okay.
So something like that, so.
Good. Okay, let's finish up. Let's see anyone else, XRP. Anyone else, XRP? Oops.
Put low buy orders.
Maybe we'll want to look at low buy orders.
Low buy orders.
Okay.
Your other belief that we're going to head down to, looks like, was it 170? Oh, excuse me. 126 is the next stop.
I didn't say that, but it is one of the. It's possible it's one of the stops. I'm gonna tell you guys how to determine that right now, but let's get some more comments from you guys, and then I'll finish up my thoughts for XRP.
Maybe we'll go $1 now that everything's running. I don't know, but I'm gonna say we are coming down. Put you low, buy brothers. Not financial.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess Milton has a price target of about 92,000, I think. Either we.
You mean Bitcoin?
Down. Yeah, Bitcoin. Yeah.
Wait, hold on, real quick. I don't mean this in any offense. For some of you veterans, I know how you guys speak because I'm with you, but you have a lot of new people. So when you come on the line and you say, "Oh, I hear numbers like 92," that makes no sense to the newbies. You have to speak in context. So just so you guys know, if you're new, some of the veterans use major markers or major cryptos like Bitcoin to indicate what's happening in the market. So when you see this, give them astronomical numbers that are not the crypto we're looking at on the page or the crypto we're even talking about. They're talking about a different crypto. And for some of you veterans, try to use that terminology to get people on board to understand what you're talking about. And for context, Milton is someone in the Crypto and Christ community who's been with us for a long time. He has his own, I think he has his own channel or something, strong track record. So that's who Ian's talking about. Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so 92K. So we could either correct down from here now to look a bit lower and then go up to 92. But if we, from 92, if we get there, I believe he's got a target down around either 64 or 54, and I heard 52. So I would expect that that low price for XRP when Bitcoin hits 54, 52 or even 54.
What are you doing?
And then,
hot mic.
Yeah, so that's about all I wanted to say, really. So yeah, this could be a temporary low, like I was saying last week, the balance point from around 75, whether we'll correct here and then go up, or whether we'll go straight to 92 now. Well, obviously we could come straight down to that low number, but yeah, I'd expect some highs and some lows. There's great potential. Yes, so I think the high numbers and the low numbers are all very possible.
Can I say one more thing? The Lord is bringing to my attention, because we have to look at because we are looking at the numbers, we gotta look at the prophetic, we gotta look at everything. And this is the Lord speaking, not me, because I am like, I look and listen. We have to look at also the things that man does, and which that's what Trump is doing. He's been trying to fix what's going on because a lot of people are not happy with everything coming down, and this is what's happening in the market. He's getting out the news and he's holding the tariffs and everybody knows what's going on with that stuff. So it is being manipulated. I believe that's where Abba has spoken about the sixes, because 6 means man and it's man manipulated. So I'm not going to say that we're going to go up and down, but it could be manipulated in the sense because the Lord spoke about the 1/7 Passover. It could mean that we're going to get some seed money. And regardless of what we're seeing in the maps right now, that things will come down. At some point, we might rallying up and then come massively down again.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to finish up XRP. I just want to confirm. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So, here we are with XRP. How low is XRP likely to go? First, we have these targets here. When I did the target system while we were chatting, targets like this were hit after measuring only back to here, all the way down to here. I wish I did target system. I don't know why I didn't. I had a lot of great prices on that, but here's one such top. That would have been let us know it's a top. That's nice. Here's another target recently. This is this one. Now this one's already basically hit. We hit wick the low to the low side. That's why I said earlier with our targets, usually they're very accurate to one side or the other, and sometimes in this case both. This one would bounce on top and we wick to the bottom side. So this is something we can keep our eye on, but I just showed you there's weaknesses in here. By the way, I left this old blue line on because this is the line I had when we were way back here. I had that blue line up there in the sky, but now I'm adjusting it for the more recent action. So it's basically here. So for a few weeks, I'll leave this on here as my old blue line. It's this one, okay? That's the one, again, we had for months ago. Now I'm just going to leave it faded away in the background. I want you to focus on this one, the one I drew for you in the previous image just a little while ago. Focusing on the fact that there's weaknesses here, okay? There's weaknesses in the board. See? Weaknesses. So I want you guys to watch out for that line. But the volume is going to reveal if we're going to get down to this price right now, 126, or we're just going to come back down and play in the 150s, 160s. I'm sorry, 170s and 160s. One of the ways we're going to determine is when we come back down to 176 or 163 in this range, we can look at the volume comparatively to those two areas. Right now, what that basically means is that once I'm here, I can look at the volume again, just like I told you the other day when we did an assessment on the volume. It looked like the supply was absorbed, but I said wait, because we're not at an entry. We weren't in bullish territory, so we didn't have any entries along that track. Now I'm telling you again, wait, okay, wait to buy, because number one, we don't have a health yet. We still need the health somewhere along this track. After bouncing out, that might be a good thing. And even then, I have a bigger health that's more higher here and probably more appropriate. But right now, the volume is leaning that we're going to continue being weakness, so I need to challenge this area again. Here's where we got all the way down to the low side of 163. It's going to be to the lower side based on this previous wick. So what I'm going to say is I might feel comfortable now that we're here. If there's a shorter weakness, I might even short this in the near future, in the next maybe few days, if I had a more appropriate line to draw. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave it alone and come back to it and buy it cheaper. But right now, I want to let it come back to 163. And then I'm going to compare those two volumes together. If the volume is one of those scenarios that I drew out for you in the legend, the ones we do from our class on Wednesdays. What was it? Where's the legend I gave you? Didn't I take a screenshot of it? I didn't draw a screenshot. Okay. I wish I would have took a screenshot of it. Can't believe I didn't take a screenshot of it. Or I didn't save. Either way, you guys know the legend. I give it to you on Wednesdays. And we'll do it another one on this Wednesday as well. And coming up. If we're there, or if we hit there sooner, I'm going to let you guys know. Here's how you can determine where to look. What you're going to do is you're going to create an alert line. You're going to draw a little flat line from here to here, just somewhere off in the near future. You can even extend it out. You can fade it away. The line is not important as a resistance line. It's just so that you can click on it, and then this button's going to come up when you click on it, this toolbar. You're going to put the alarm clock, and then you're going to click on this in the message field. You're going to come down to the message field, and you're going to type XRP is at a low of the target. Look now at the volume for these three. Increase, comma, equal to, comma, aggregately high. Or the high is aggregate. Okay, aggregately high. That's not how you spell aggregate, but that's how I'm spelling it. Then I'm going to click create. Now when XRP triggers this and XRP falls, it's going to send me a notification on my phone. And I'm going to remind myself, oh, I better look at XRP. Then I'm going to compare area 1 to area 2. If the volume's equal to, I know I'm going lower. If it's increased, I know a higher degree of confidence I'm going lower. If it's still just high, but aggregately high, I'm going to be looking for it to come. If the volume, however, is decreased, I'm going to be looking to play a little bit higher, and then maybe I'm going to look to buy. But right now, that increase is going to let me know if I'm going to go to my next targets lower. At the moment, I don't have that permission yet. I also don't have a permission to load up the bank on XRP. Not yet. At least not yet. I want to wait for, again, these two things. One, health along this track. Right there. And health along that track. Does everybody understand my game plan on how I would successfully or want to successfully navigate those? I'm at a low, but I'm still in a downtrend, and weakness is above me. I got to be careful. I'm more likely to challenge 175 to 163 again. Then I'm going to check the volume, and it's going to let me know what's coming next. Either down to the next target, and then I can short and make that money, or buy XRP again. But at the very least, in this weakness, I don't want to pay the prices today. I want to pay those prices, 164. Today's price is at 213. I think that's a high price based on what the picture is for me. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? My game plan for XRP.
I have a question. You know how we look at Bitcoin to look at the overall market, but we know that XRP is really the number one.
Okay.
And they know it's the number one. So can we predict the market just by looking at what they're doing to XRP right now? Like when we look at Bitcoin? You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks like the overall market is going to go down because it looks like XRP is going to go down. Is that fair to say or not really?
It may be. But my main concern is that XRP is so manipulated. I don't really believe it's so reflective of the market just yet. But to be honest, I haven't really considered that question. Is this what's happening to the market? Personally, if I were to think about the question, I would say no. Because this was holding on and the market wasn't holding on. It may be what they're going to do and want to do, and it may be in the future. It may be emerging, but at the moment, I would say it's not as maybe indicative of Bitcoin, because I think in the future it's going to be, but right now it's not the major player just yet. It's going to be, but I think it's just not there yet. At least that's what I think. Okay. Anyone else? Bitcoin, XRP. Anyone else? XRP. All right. God bless you. I'll be right back for any final questions. And we'll be back tomorrow, Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please don't miss it. We're going over Forcing in Clarity part number 5. In part number 5, we're going to continue with the tips from hearing from the Holy Spirit. How, when we're getting our prayers answered, that we're going to continue some of those thoughts that we've been building on up in this series. We started with Balak and Balaam, the king. We talked about when we force God into those situations. We talked about perverting the way. We talked about the two main first aspects of hearing from the Holy Spirit is knowing where we begin and where God ends, and understanding that our hearts can be anxious. Our desires do not directly translate into what God feels. We can be excited about something and it's not God. We can be fearful about something and it's not God. And I showed you in the Word of God. Now tomorrow we're going to be continuing with the next 10 tips. There's actually more, but 10 main ones I want to leave you with. So tomorrow it starts 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I would love to see you there. It's not crypto related. You'll join me there. God bless you, and we'll be right back.